Hello and welcome to Technical Utkranti, and today we are going to see how to find the maximum consecutive ones. So let's look at the thought of the day and let's move on to looking at the question. So we have this array, we are given an array and we need to find the length of the maximum consecutive ones. So here as you can see it is 2. So let's see how we can do it. Okay, let's quickly understand this algorithm. We will have two counters initialized to 0, and then I is equal to 0 means I is a variable that would be used to access the element of the array. So until you've done with the complete array, access the element from the array. So if the element is 1, increase the counter and then move on. All right. And when the element doesn't come out to be 1, then what we'll do is we'll see whether the current consecutive count is greater than the previous consecutive count. Okay, which to start with is 0. So if this is greater, we'll store the value of count in the previous count and reset count to 0. This resetting is done in order to keep the count of the next set of consecutive ones. And then we move on to increment the counter. And then again, we see if the element is equal to 1, we start incrementing the counter and we go on in this cycle until we find an element which is not equal to 1. We reset the counter over here, and before resetting, we'll take the backup of it if the previous consecutive count is lesser than the current consecutive count. All right. And once the array is completely traversed, we'll again see if the count obtained as of now is greater than the previous count. Store it in the previous count, and previous count would be our answer. So if this chart looks a bit complicated to you, let's look at the code. So here we have previous count and count initialized to 0, and we are iterating across the array. If the current element is 1, increment the counter, the current counter. And if you happen to find that the current element is not 1, then whatever is the current consecutive count, compare it with the previous consecutive count. And if the current consecutive count is greater, then it means that we need to update the previous count and then reset the counter value to 0. So this will go on, and at the end of this for loop, we'll have a previous count and a count value. So this count value is not being accounted. The last count value is not being accounted for. It may happen that the last count value is not accounted. That's why at the end of the for loop, we again check if the count is current count is greater than the previous count, update the previous count, and return this thing. So let's run and see if the test cases pass. It does pass. So I hope you liked the video. If you did like, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. Bye bye.